Hello, Year 5, and welcome to the 6th English lesson out of a series of 10 based on the book The Arrival by Shaun Tan and the theme of community. Let's get started. So here's your starter task for today. Who said it? Now, in previous lessons, I've asked you to put the words into the characters' mouths. What might they be saying? This time, I've given you the words that the characters have said, but I'd like you to work out which character said it. Now, there are no clues in the book because there are no words in the book. But using what we already know about the arrival, the girl, and the old man, and about their stories so far, which one of them might have said, "I did it"? When will it get easier? And "I'd give anything to go back." You may need to read each of these with different intonation and change your voice, as this might have an effect on which character you think said it. For example, "I did it." "I did it!" Simply by saying it in a different way changes the energy, the emphasis, and the atmosphere, and gives it a new meaning. Pause the video now so you've got time to think and try things out. There's no right or wrong answer here, so just give it a go. Welcome back. So, which ones were easier than others? Were there any there that you found you couldn't really place with any of the characters? The green one for me, "I'd give anything to go back." That was probably my most challenging one. Because who really wants to go back? Let's move on to today's lesson. You'll need something to write with and something to write on. We'll be building lots of ideas today, so make sure you've got plenty of space. So yesterday, the arrival met 3 new faces, and we heard about each of their stories and how they were similar or different to the arrival's story. We also thought about the importance of having these stories in the book. Without them, do we understand the arrival and have that empathy for him if we didn't hear these other people's stories? Would we understand the importance of community if we didn't meet these 3 characters? Today, we're going to think about their impact on the arrival himself. How did their stories and how did meeting each of those characters change the way he felt or thought? What was his reaction to each of those individuals? And we're going to build these thoughts and feelings so that we can use them in our final piece of writing at the end of this unit in that informal letter. And we can combine that with our deliberate choice of vocabulary so that the person receiving the letter gets a real appreciation of the journey that our character's been on, but also what they're experiencing. So today, for each of our new faces, we're going to pinpoint how our arrival might have thought when they heard the story and what questions he might have had. We're going to think about how he might felt towards them, but also felt when he's kind of reflecting on how that's similar or different to his own experience. And we're also going to think about, whilst they're listening to that story or after they've heard that story, what actions does the arrival do next? What does he learn? What does it inspire him to do or make him decide he needs to do next? We may not be able to answer all of these for all of our characters, but we're going to give it a good go. Prepped and ready? On to the first one. So remember our video yesterday that just recapped the story of the meeting he had with this first lady. I'm going to let that run in the background, and you can use that as something to remind you of what he went through. And remember, we're thinking about what thoughts might he have had, and what feelings, questions, and actions may he have taken when he realizes that she has been through similar things to him. Maybe he feels empathetic, feels sorry for her. He feels astounded at what she's been through. I wonder what questions he would have had for her. Maybe what was it like working there? Why did she think the person had taken the books away from her? Maybe he's feeling glad that his life hadn't got to the point where he was being made to work in terrible conditions for him to leave, and thankful that his daughter doesn't have to go through that. Maybe there's a sense of admiration. Time to start thinking. What might he have done as a result of that? Maybe he made the decision to get back in contact with his wife and his daughter, check they're okay, remind them that he's thinking about them and he's working hard to get them to join him. Maybe the questions that he has for her are you still in contact with anybody from your homeland? What happened to her parents? Pause the video now so you can jot down all your ideas. Feel free to use the same symbols that I have for the 3 areas that we're developing. Let's look at the next one. So here we are with our second greeting. Once again, I'm going to let the video play so we can remind ourselves of the steps that the arrival went through upon meeting these characters. Keeping in mind, we're going to be developing what those feelings. Ooh. I think it's a really important part there, where he sees that black tail. How does that instantly make him feel? You can imagine him sat back in his apartment, reminding himself all those flashbacks of what it was like to live in his hometown, and thinking it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to seeing these creatures and not feeling scared. Maybe some of the questions he has are, I wonder if this creature, this animal, is where the monsters from my own hometown came from. Maybe he was feeling grateful that the gentleman he was talking to understood him. I love that picture of like, that's me, I understand, I've been through the same. And we see the horror from it. reminding ourselves of what his homeland was like, running away, fleeing from these giants that seem to just be sucking people up. Maybe one of the thoughts our arrival is having is, thank goodness that wasn't the situation my wife and I had. Maybe he's feeling slightly ashamed that this gentleman made sure his wife came with him. And the arrival has left his wife and daughter at home. Maybe he's feeling a bit worried that he's been selfish in this journey. If maybe he feels a bit selfish in going on this journey on his own. And would it have been easier if they had been together? I think keeping that in mind, I wonder if the arrival's next action might be to find more work or a better paid job in order for him to earn more money and get his wife and child with him sooner. Maybe that gives him the boost he needs. If you're ready to do so, you might want to start jotting down your thoughts about how our character might be feeling when he's heard this, and any questions he might have. What actions might he make? What might he have learnt from this man and what he went through to get to this new city? There's our thoughts, questions, feelings, and actions. What has been learnt from this meeting? Once again, here's that video to remind us of his story. And you may wish, if you're feeling confident, to write things down as we go. Now, I think most people assume that the older generation in a city have been there all their lives. This isn't the right assumption to make. Well, we hear that we find out that this old gentleman was once a soldier of some description and seemed to be very proud about going off to fight for his home, for his country. And maybe needs to be somebody who's congratulated for their efforts. Maybe our arrival is feeling very humble. Some of the questions he might have might be about what did he experience? What was it like? Did he have to say goodbye to many of his friends? Maybe he wants to ask questions about why the war began in the first place. And then we've got maybe some of those actions and some of the things that he's learned afterwards. Learning that the man was injured during the war, but feeling that admiration for somebody who gets up, tries again, keeps going, and doesn't let it defeat them, doesn't let it get them down. And then finding out about his hometown being destroyed. Maybe he asks how long he stayed there for. I wonder if our arrival then begins to worry about what the state of his home might be like and whether his family are still safe. If he returns there, what will he find? Pause the video now if you need to stop and jot your ideas down. So today's tasks, you are the arrival, and you're going to share your thoughts, feelings, and actions after meeting one of the locals in a diary format. I've written a little plan here down at the side in grey to help you out. So an introduction, so who you met on the way into the city and why you started talking. Then what you learnt about them and how they came to that city. Your feelings about their story and what you learnt from them. And I've written her and she in there because whoop, under here, that's the one that I'm going to focus on. But it's up to you. And like I said at the top, one or more of the characters, your choice. I've added a little success criteria here because we need to make sure if we're writing a diary that we're writing in the first person. So I, me, my. But also in chronological order, in the order that things happen. And hopefully this plan at the side helps you to do that. So who you met, why you started talking, what you found out about their story, your feelings about their story, and then what you learnt from it. I've had a go at doing this myself. You can use this model to help you and to refer back to when you're doing your own writing. I'll read it to you now. Dear Diary, on my way into the city today, I met a lady who helped me find my way. She could see that I was lost and told me that she too used to find these streets confusing. So I've said who I met and why we started talking. I asked her how she came to this city, and she started to share her story with me. I was surprised to find out that she too was seeking asylum, away from monstrous people who had torn her life apart. So, what she told me about how she came to the city. As I listened to her, I felt great admiration. She had been so brave to leave her old life behind and journey to find a better world to live in. So, more feelings there. It made me realize that maybe I am brave too. Question. Even though I don't feel it most days, I hope to see her again. It would be nice to have a friend to talk to who has been through what I have. Here's hoping. So I've got what I learnt from her and my next action, hoping to meet up with her again in order to formulate a friendship. And that's exactly how we build our community. Speaking to the people that are around us and live in our locality, helping them out when they need it, but also about continuing to make those connections. Use that guide to help you with your writing and all those ideas that you came up with. And remember, you don't have to do it for all of those characters, unless you really want to. I look forward to hearing about your successes. Great work again today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.